Alright, for this one what we're doing is we've just finished up putting all the gear travels in, or I guess you'd say the servos. We've also put in, we put in all the gear operations. Now our job is to actually use this operation to create a video. So let's say the boss is asking you for some travel on some objects or anything, and he wants to be able to make those objects move now. The things that you need to do is come in and put a servo in. Servos can be difficult to understand how to put in the travel and how fast they are. So right there is the servo where it's located. That servo motor is the one that we wish to put into place. It's first asking for the drive entity that we want to do. And you're kind of going like, what is that? Where is it? That right there is that little orange swirl that we used before to place the gear. Once we've got that into location, you can just grab it. You also get to see a little swirl like a tornado. That tornado is telling you what direction that object is moving. Now, if we were to look at this one, the actual true travel of this one would not be the gear. It would actually be the screw gear. Because the screw gear is the one that actually moves this one up here in location. So go ahead and reselect the screw gear down here below. Now, underneath the profile, we have many different decisions. We've got angular position, which can be moved by degree values. So if you wanted this thing only to move by 90 degrees, then you could put in the degree values of 90 degrees. The other way we have is just like velocity that the component could be moving. So this velocity is constant and degrees per second. You also have decisions for ramp, cosine, cycloids, parabolic, polynomial, and you can put in table or user-defined entries. Off this one, we'll just go constant, and these are degrees per second. So if you were to count in your mind for your design, for your hand design, you were to say 1001, how much would you want this thing to rotate around? So if we go at, let's say that we want it to rotate 360 degrees per second. So 1001. And then if we run a video for 10 seconds, that means it's only going to turn like 10 times. So let's move this thing up and let's try 700 degrees per second. Which seems kind of fast, but not too fast in the real world design. So we also want it under a velocity and not a positional value. And that's just for the graph ratings that come out for it. And then under properties, that's just the title of what it is, motor 1. If you wish to change that, you can. And then off of that, you can touch and hit here with the glasses, or you can hit here for the check. And it actually has that little velocity sitting in there for the design. So let's now do that operation over here for the gear. And we'll put in another servo. So off this servo right here, we'll put it into location. We can see that it is turning clockwise. So clockwise it's turning. It's going to go angular velocity, and then that angular velocity will say 700 again, because it's roughly the same size as the other one. So we want them to have a good set. Touch somewhere else once you've entered that, either hit enter or go back up, then you'll get the green arrow. Down here below we'll do the same scenario, so we'll put in a server. Off of this we'll pick the little gear, and if you wish to flip you could flip, but I wouldn't flip here. We don't want it to be angular, we want it to be angular velocity. And then off of that we'll move 700 degrees per second. You see how there's no green check mark. Watch what happens when I touch. The minute I touch and deselect and that menu pops up, then I get that. Now we should be ready to run this operation. So first thing I usually do here is I hit save, to where I know I'm updated and saved and everything's ready to go. And now we can step into the mechanism design. Underneath the mechanism design, it has a name, analysis, definition 1. If you wish to rename these, you can, but stay away from spaces. And off of this, we want it to be kinetic, or kinematic is what they call it. But off of that, you can run positions, kinematic, dynamic, static, or force balanced, any one of those. When we want it, we have a 0 time of run, and then we have a length for that time. If you run length and rate, it's running frame rates in here, so you can put in more frame rates, better look, take away the choppiness, and then you got minimal intervals per frame rate. Once you have designed that, now go over to your motors and check and verify that your motors are activating. You can start the motors at different times if you wish to. If this one starts and ends, starts and ends, starts and ends. If you wanted all 3 of them to just kind of step clearly through, you could say 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and then the motor would end. We're just going to run this one just like this on the design, and go ahead and hit run. You can see it go through the calculation and it steps through. If you wanted this one to be a little bit longer, so let's go for a longer one. Let's go for 20, and then go ahead and hit run. So it calculates all the way through. It takes a little bit longer. That might be a better video, because this seems like a long time for 20, but it's not when you come over the video. It's pretty wild. So we say, okay, we've got that data, we've got that information. I usually rebuild there, hit save, and now we can come in and we can play this data back. So you've got to get the video over to the boss man to show him, hey, I know how to do gears. I can get the gears on there. There's no problems. So the first thing you want to do is you go into the playback menu. You go to the analysis and definition that you just created. And then off of this, you have many different decisions. The main focus we're going to have is just playing it back. But you do have collision. You have collision detection. You've got global collision and partial collision detections that you can run on the unit. Just to make sure, if you're running a big motor design or something, that you're not sitting there hitting each other. This can be a pain if you've got it on. If you have it on and your parts are hitting each other, they will not move that well. Okay, so it can be a pain sometimes. Let's go ahead and play. So it wants us to analyze it all the way through again, so we say okay. And then off of this, now we can come in off of this design and we want to capture a video. So we capture a video, we want an MPEG, and then I want you guys to put your initials here. So mine, let's say I do that for the design. You can pick up the frames, you can photo render it. Doesn't look the best on the photo rendering. It's not the new photo rendering. They're working on it. They're going to have it up in the near future. But you can run different frames per second, which makes it look a little bit better for the design. Then go ahead and hit OK. And it's going through, stepping through on the design. The closer you are on the gears, a lot of times you might want to be closer on the design. You can see it stepping through for the calculations on the design. Down below, it's telling us we just finished up 200 and 200 of the frames. And then once you are finished with that capture on there, you can also just kind of look at it. If you want it a little bit faster for the design, you can play it through right there, and that's showing you how fast that unit is and how fast it's moving. The faster that you go. So if this thing's too slow to you, then what would we have to do? We just have to go into the motors and just check the speeds on the motors a little bit faster. Sometimes I like them slow like this. Why? Because you can see how choppy the screw gear gets right there. It's slow, but yet it's fast. It's really fast on the design for the eye. Now, once you've finished up there, you say close, and then you can step over wherever we had this on the videos. So I think that's in there. And there's the gear little video that it produces for the design. Go ahead and double click it, and there's your little design. And that sets up so you can show mechanism designs to somebody and they gotta see them moving back and forth. You can put it in a loop back and forth right here if you touch these arrows.